Welcome to episode number 278 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners take the series against the Rangers. We'll dive into all the storylines from over the weekend. Bryce Miller makes his first rehab start back from injury. And we have a couple of high-profile promotions to talk about in the Mariners farm system.
A reminder to you guys, if you want to stay on top of everything we're doing, make sure you go check out our website. Everything's over there. That's marinelayerpod.com, where you can find everything from our episodes, to our merch, to our Patreon. Again, reminder about the Patreon. Ad-free episodes are over there. If you sign up, mailbag priorities over there. We'd love to have you guys get involved. So all of that, including our live show schedules, at marinelayerpod.com, our website. And if you want to check us out on social media, you can do so everywhere at marinelayerpod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network, recording on Monday evening, August 4th. I just want to say, dog, nice prediction. Nice prediction on Monday's episode, not knowing. And you got it right.
Well, that was pretty good. We got a good YouTube comment on Monday's episode. Let me see if I can find it while we pull it up. But yeah, people were impressed. It's almost like I'm a genie.
Given that we were out of the state this weekend for a wedding, I kind of forgot you had made that prediction. You know, I go ahead, I edit the episode, I schedule it, and then it's like, all right, well, when it releases on Monday, like, people will see, but I don't remember every single word we say in every single episode. And then the comments start flooding in. It's like, yeah, Lyle, nice job. 3 out of 4 against the Rangers. And I sat here and I said, wow, that's so optimistic of you. But I was in the wrong, not you. So congratulations.
Here's the comment. It was pretty good. Somebody said, Lyle scripting Major League Baseball games so he can host the baseball podcast in bulk recording sessions instead of using his power for gambling is a conspiracy I can buy.
Is bulk recording that fun?
I was going to say, I like recording timely. I like recording when there's things that are of relevance and of time to talk about rather than having to do it in bulk. Recording in bulk takes a lot of time. Also, guys, I'm not Emmanuel Clase. If I want to go bet on baseball games, I can do whatever I want. Well, okay, I can't do it online. It's like you can't sports bet online in Washington. However, if I wanted to go to the casino and just bet all the time on the Mariners, knowing in hindsight what was going to happen, I would go do that. But I'm not Emmanuel Clase. I'm not Emmanuel Clase, so I could go do that. However, I'm not doing that.
I'm actually convinced you'd be banned from a casino if you knew what was happening.
But how would they know? Like, you'd be the only one with the internal knowledge. They wouldn't know.
Well, do you ever plan on losing a bet?
I mean, what's the fun in that?
Well, then they would realize, oh, this dude's won 15 in a row. He should go somewhere else.
Fine. Then you pick the next casino.
What an experiment. Maybe we'll have to give a prediction every time out. Should we try and keep your hot streak going? It's an off day today as we're recording, but there will be one game between now and when this episode comes out. Would you like to double down and see if you can keep rolling?
I would not, because I want to save these predictions for when they're going to matter. I don't want to use it on some weekday series against the White Sox. The fact I just got this right, why don't I save it for games either down the stretch that are really important, or, if they get there, during the playoffs?
But it's lower profile. It doesn't matter as much if you lose. You can get your losses out of the way. You can tweak your strategy.
I think I'd rather save them for the big moments.
But the big moments, then you're wrong, then you're double pissed because you're wrong and they lost.
Well, and then people will be really pissed at me or whatever if I'm predicting that they're winning.
Because you jinxed it. I don't think people are going to complain if you jinx a Tuesday night game against the White Sox.
I want to save it for when it matters. I'm on a hot streak. You got to save it.
All right, fine.
However, and again, yes, I am personally not a sports bettor. Do I understand every bit of how it works? Yes, like when you're in sports media, especially nowadays, you pick up a pretty good understanding naturally for how it all goes and how it all works. But if I truly had powers like that, that would be how I'd pick up sports betting. I'm not a bettor, but I'd pick it up if I actually had those powers.
Okay. We should have had a. Actually, I'm not gonna get us in trouble there. I was gonna suggest that we someone start a sports gambling site for our IM softball in college. So we could have been Emmanuel Clase.
Wait, like for our IM softball or just IM softball in general?
No, our IM softball. Could have had live lines.
Well, we would have. I mean, we did not win a lot of games, so.
No, we didn't. I think I would be hammering money on the other team, which is how you get banned from leagues. So, you and I would be like Shoeless Joe Jackson in that case.
Or Class A. Dude, actually, but Shoeless Joe tried in those 1919 World Series games. I know he took some money, but he was actually trying. The guys you'd actually have to point to in terms of who threw it, it's other guys on that White Sox team. See, this is why people have to watch 8 Men Out. I know Field of Dreams is great, but there is a way better movie that tells the story of that World Series, which is 8 Men Out, about the 1919 White Sox. So if you want names, it would be more like the Swede Risbergs of the world, the Eddie Seacotts of the world. Those are the guys that were really throwing games.
So you'll be shocked for what I'm about to say. I haven't seen the movie.
I know.
Yeah. So when you mention those names, they go right over my head.
Well, Eddie Seacott was really good, but he got banned from baseball. So,
As did that entire team.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
The 8 guys who were in on it, yes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the games this weekend, Lyle, that we were still paying attention to as we were at the wedding, because the Mariners had an incredibly big series this weekend against the Texas Rangers. And man, the new roster takes care of business. The new roster goes out there and they play very well against the Rangers. And we're talking about an extra inning flip-flop on Saturday away from potentially sweeping. But then you also had Friday's game with J.P. Crawford's walk-off 2-run home run, the lineup working out the exact way it's supposed to. I was very pleased. I think the biggest thing I was pleased about, Lyle, was this Sunday. The Mariners had a couple of tough 2 weeks offensively. Most of that was with the old lineup before the trade deadline. The new lineup has still been working its way in. Josh Naylor has a home run, but hasn't been incredible yet. Gino has not been a world beater in his first 4 games back in Seattle. But they face on Sunday, it's Logan Evans versus Jacob deGrom. Our guy Logan Evans. Love him. Jacob deGrom's probably a Hall of Famer and has pitched incredibly well this year. You look at that matchup and you look at what Sunday means, and it's either the Rangers are going to tie you in the standings and the series is a wash, or you'll be 2 games up on the Rangers at the end of Sunday. They go out there and they tag Jacob deGrom for 5 runs and 3 home runs for a lineup that had not been hitting as well. But some big guys stepped up to the plate and took care of business on Sunday, and I thought that made me very happy to watch. And part of what depth of a lineup does is that even if you have a Gino or a Josh Naylor that aren't doing otherworldly things right away, or even Cal Raleigh. Cal Raleigh has been slumping a bit over the past few weeks, striking out a lot, but it doesn't matter because other guys stepped up to the plate and they took care of business in a really big game and have given themselves now essentially a 3-game cushion on the Texas Rangers, which, look at how these standings are shaking out, Lyle, I think is going to be very important at the end of the season.
Really important. And you know what? It's funny, for all the small ball talk we heard early in the year, they seem to win a lot of games by hitting the long ball. And how do they beat one of the best pitchers who, in his prime, was one of the most dominant pitchers ever in DeGrom and get that win on Sunday? 3 homers.
No, they bunted.
Oh, I forgot. Well, maybe they should bunt more often. Oh, wait, no, they shouldn't. They just hit 3 home runs and won the series. No, don't bunt. Dude, how about Julio? I mean, we've talked plenty over the last couple weeks that his home road splits are jaw-dropping different, where he is maybe a top 5 hitter in baseball on the road, and it's not even a 600 OPS at home. But Julio on Sunday, I mean, he tags DeGrom. He goes 2 for 4, had a great weekend overall. He was all over the place in the field. I mean, that was like a Julio anchored win on Sunday. All credit to him. He seriously, I don't want to say carried him to that win because it wasn't all him, but that was, I mean, he was the lead anchor in that win on Sunday.
Well, again, I think you're really just seeing what depth does for you. We have not been able to talk ever about a Mariners lineup in our lifetime that has the depth that the current healthy version of this lineup does. Where on a given day, someone else can be doing something. But it is really nice when your biggest star players are those guys we can talk about. So we don't have to sit here and say the best player acquired at the deadline, that's a bat, didn't do jack squat over the weekend, so the Mariners are screwed against the Rangers. And the Rangers come in and they split the series, and you make no progress on that. But it doesn't matter because you have other guys to go in there and do things like that. I do think Julio's not all the way back to Julio, but it is a very, very good sign, what we saw. I'm trying to just see like a smaller split for Julio if we look since like July 1st.
Well, while you're looking at that, when you talk about the depth, the Mariners' number 9 hitter, as we currently speak, in the form of Cole Young, in the last month, has a 155 WRC plus, an 881 OPS, is walking 17% of the time, and is striking out 10% of the time. That's your 9 hitter in the last month, and Cole Young with an 881 OPS. Part of that is a testament to Cole Young and how awesome he's looked here in the second half and really over the last 5-6 weeks. Certainly in this last month stretch, but also a testament to, by making the moves that they made at this trade deadline and now seeing Julio start to heat up a little bit. I mean, this is what good lineups do. And this Mariners lineup, for what they have on paper right now, is legitimately good.
And oh, by the way, Cole Young hit a ball 456 feet. Cole Young was not the guy I had in this starting 9 hitting a ball into the second deck. I could not believe that ball when it landed. Cole Young hit it up there.
But we know he has a little bit of power.
Second deck?
I mean,
dude,
remember that?
You know the people who have hit it up into that second deck? I don't think Kyle Seager ever hit a ball up there.
I mean, Kyle Seager didn't have like crazy raw power. Yeah, he hit homers, but
neither does Cole Young.
I mean, Cole Young hit a ball nearly 500 feet down in Albuquerque this year. Yeah, he doesn't have, it's not crazy raw power, but like when a pitcher makes a mistake to Cole Young at this point, he punishes it.
The people who have hit that ball up there to that second level, off the top of my head from what I can remember, Cole's one, Luke Raley, Daniel Vogelbach, Shohei Ohtani. He hit it up to the third level. Am I missing anybody?
There's been some others over the years, I'm sure, because plenty of guys hit it off the Hit It Here Cafe and things like that. But yeah, it doesn't happen every day. Mm-hmm. That was a nuke that Cole Young hit.
And that goes back in line to a lot of stuff that Joe Doyle was telling us about early in the season when we were anticipating seeing Cole. He said, quote, to us, Cole's torquing more. It seems like Cole's got more bat speed. Cole's hitting the ball a little bit harder. And that swing right there is the result of all of that. Cole himself said after the fact, he's never hit a ball harder and farther in his life than what he did there. And if that's the kind of pop and production you're getting out of the 9-hole in your lineup, and what, is he walking close to 10% of the time, I think, right now?
Well, again, in the last month, it's 17.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So that's great to see. And the strikeouts aren't high with him either. It's a very high floor at the bottom of your lineup to set the table for the best guys on top of your lineup. Here's the thing about Julio. Excuse me. I think in the last month, I won't say this for certain, we talked about what he was doing earlier this season. He was almost trying to avoid striking out in an effort to make more contact and in that way be more productive. In the last month or so, since July 1st, the strikeout rate Lyle's back up to 29%. The walk rate is a little bit below where he's been for his career at about 6%. But we see an average exit velocity of 93.5 miles an hour, a 126 WRC plus, and a slug over 500. The overall volume of contact isn't supremely high, but the slug in this approach the last month is there. Like, it's what it's supposed to be. And if he makes... So his average in this context, when I talk about not having enough contact, not enough volume of contact, his average is 238. If he brings that up to right around where he usually is, 270 to 280, that's a very productive player. If he finds a way to bridge that gap back up to where he normally is, then that is more like rookie Julio Rodriguez, and it's very helpful for this lineup. It is very helpful.
So that the 29% strikeout rate is a little high. I know it's only a month stretch. If it could be somewhere between 20 and 30%, that'd be great. Again, if he could get it around the 24, 25% range, that's fine. But again, we talked earlier in the year, like you just said, how Julio seemed to be striking out less, but the power wasn't there. Now we're seeing the power. And I think everybody's seeing, when you look at the stretch earlier in the year and you're looking at the stretch now, I would hope this signals to everybody, hey, it's okay if Julio strikes out a little bit, because you want that power in his bat very badly. Everybody does. So I hope that kind of shows people and is a signal to a lot of fans watching out there that be okay living with some Julio strikeouts if you know that's going to result in more power. I certainly am. I know you are.
And you also watch the course of this, right? So yeah, the strikeouts are fine. You watch the course of this, how Julio trends up a little bit as Cal trends down a little bit, and his strikeouts are ticking up as well. And the production for him has fallen off a little bit over the last couple of weeks. But notice the offense roughly stays the same if you're able to do that. If you're able to hedge and you're able to ride those waves. And we saw some of that over the weekend against the best pitching staff in baseball in the Texas Rangers. That staff shoves. They've shoved very well all season. They have a lot of really good pitchers on their roster. I mean, you even saw the Rangers with their newest acquisition take some initiative this weekend, and they shifted up their rotation so they had Merrill Kelly pitch on Saturday and DeGrom pitch on Sunday, knowing the importance of this. And even despite all of that, the Mariners managed to do damage where they needed to do as well. There's one other thing I wanted to note. Oh, no, I forgot. Uh-oh.
Can I pivot to something while you're trying to remember?
You can pivot to something, yeah. Well, I remember.
Well, the other couple parts of that Sunday win were J.P. Crawford, who, I mean, you already talked about, hit 2 monstrous homers this weekend. None bigger than that walk-off on Friday. That was nuts. And then Jorge Polanco, who had the 3rd homer on Sunday. All those homers came off DeGrom. And it just made me sit and think. Again, I know it's been an odd year in a lot of ways for Jorge Polanco because he got so hot earlier in the year and then he got so cold and now he's heating up again. Overall, we're talking about a guy with a 127 OPS plus. He's been awesome at the plate. I know it's been in a streaky way, but right now, this is by OPS plus the best offensive season Jorge Polanco's ever had.
And as a DH, that's what you want. Like, that's the best DH production the Mariners have gotten in a while.
Which poses this question, right? Because I think it's safe to say that, look, Polanco plays in the field a little bit at this point, but mostly that's Cole Young's job at second base, and Polanco DHs. But it leads me to this. We haven't really talked about this much, but now I feel like it's become relevant again by the way he's playing. Jorge Polanco next season it's a mutual option, but it converts to a $6 million player option where he gets the choice to pick it up or not if he gets to 450 plate appearances. If he gets to 550, it goes to $8 million. So, it leads me to say this. Is Jorge Polanco back here next year? Like, does it make sense to bring him back? I guess it's a 2-part question.
If you don't have a DH, I don't see why not.
I was thinking the same thing.
If you re-sign Gino, then maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't want to. Like,
but then who plays?
Think about this.
But then who plays third base?
Yeah, he does play third base, but what if you want to mix him in DH or you want Ben back up on the roster next year? And you want a little bit more youth, because the problem is if you keep Gino and Polanco on this roster, from an athleticism standpoint and an age standpoint, that's not the most ideal combination. Now, if they both hit, the Mariners look past both of these solutions. But as these players have showed in their careers, they can be a little streaky. They can have these big cold streaks. And for some points, it's affected their season. See Jorge Polanco just last season. And you don't want that on your roster for all that money, given your self-imposed limited budget, right? So you need to be smart with these decisions.
Any chance it changes this offseason? I'm not saying they're going to turn. I'm not saying they're going to turn into Steve Cohen. I don't think anybody thinks that. But Look, I don't know all the financials of the Mariners. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But between getting the streaming service now all squared away and you get the Nintendo deal all squared away, that did come after the offseason. Is there any chance they've got more resources now where they feel comfortable spending a little more?
I think one way to think about this is perhaps they could do a 1-year buoy before the CBA expires and the rules change.
That's true.
So they don't do anything long term, but maybe for a 1-year buoy without the hard cap above them, then they could do that.
Although Gino,
or they could decide to do what they did last year and not spend any more money.
Yeah. Although Gino's not going to take a 1-year deal, so
probably not. But in essence of Jorge Polanco, he would only be here 1 year, so you'd be okay maybe going $8 more million up for 1 year of Polanco, knowing it's going to come off your books after the CBA expires.
Right.
But I don't think it's the worst idea in the world to think about bringing Jorge Polanco. You just need to understand the kind of player you're getting, and if he's not hitting and he's not in the field, what is he going to do for you at this time next year? Because there was talk during the season this year, after April, in the middle of May into June, that it's like Polanco cannot be on this roster if he's going to have a 500 OPS and he can't play the field and can't hit right-handed. It gives you zero positional versatility. Mm-hmm. That was not even 2 months ago.
Right. Lots changed, though.
You got to take it into account.
A lot's changed, though, in 2 months, because, again, like his season overall has been objectively very good. So if he's your DH, I think it's worth a thought.
It is worth a thought, but your roster has also changed a lot since then, too. Now that you have Colts, you have a second baseman who hits, and you have 2 more bats on your roster who are, for their careers, better bats than Jorge Polanco is. So you need to think about where your priorities are for re-signing bats. But if they think it's a better idea to keep Polanco and works better for their budget, then so be it. I mean, right. I'm not against it.
But again, also, Polanco gets 100 more at bats, which he will. It's his call.
Yeah.
Because it's a player option.
I would think he wants to stay because it's guaranteed money. I don't think... I'd be shocked if he got that much money on the open market.
Right. That's probably right. I don't know that for sure, but just, CBA coming up. He's mostly a DH at this point. Yeah, that's probably right.
His bat's good, but I don't know if it's an $8 million bat on the open market. But since the Mariners have written it in his contract, he's going to take it.
Well, again, if he gets to 450 plate appearances, it's $6 million. If he gets to 550, it's $8 million. So we'll see.
Yeah. But he is on pace for 550.
He right now is at 352. Is he going to get 200 more the rest of the year?
If he doesn't get hurt again. I think so. It'll be close.
Yeah. I mean, he'll get to 450.
I think it'll be close at this point. But I think it's totally fine. I think the idea is fine. I just think you need to sit and examine age and versatility of your roster next year. Because you anticipate Donovan Solano's not going to be on this roster next year. Shit, maybe not soon at all. But that's the example of when you're paying someone to do one thing and he's just not good enough and he just kind of burns a roster spot.
Sure. Although Solano is 37, about to be 38, Polanco is going to be 32 next year. It's a little different.
Polanco does run around like he's 37 sometimes.
He's had a lot of injuries.
I know. It doesn't change the fact, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I just thought that was an interesting conversation.
In terms of the year he's having, though, it has swung back around in a great way, and it has been an objectively good free agent signing.
Yeah.
Objectively good now through 4 months. It fills a clear need that you have on your roster. Since he can switch hit, great. If you have to play him in the field, okay. But as a DH, we kept talking about we were sick and tired of Jerry and Justin using the DH role as a rest day for players who are frankly not good enough. Abraham Toro. And now they have a real DH instead. And look, their lineup is actually good.
Well, tell me how you really feel.
So that's a big plus. You did mention JP before him, though. Such a big swing for JP on Friday, given how much he had been struggling. He got dropped all the way to the 8th spot in that lineup. And despite all those struggles, he's managed to come through a couple times this weekend, which is great. And he doesn't... again, with most of the other guys on this roster, it's the same way. The pressure is not all on you anymore. Mm-hmm. It's not you're one of the only 3 good offensive players in this lineup at any given point. We need you to produce. J.P. Crawford now gets to get sandwiched between Dom Canzone and Cole Young at the bottom of the lineup and just relax. And it's great.
Yeah. No, it's great. I hope he keeps it up. I hope he keeps going.
Do we think he'll stay down there?
Probably for a while, because again, I really like the way this lineup's structured. I do. The fact Randy's hitting lead off, and then it's Julio, and then it's Cal, and then it's Naylor, and then it's Gino. I really like that lineup. So
Randy's I was going to say, Randy's kind of an underrated fit as a leadoff hitter.
Yeah?
I didn't even gotten to think about it that much, but it's a high walk rate, and he keeps stealing bags. So, like, that is what you want, right? And he's got the pop.
Yeah, Randy low-key might steal 30 bags this year.
That's kind of crazy. I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's like, if you watch Randy out in the field, you wouldn't think, oh, he's the most detail-oriented defender that there is. Because he's not really. But on the base paths, he picks his right spots, and he swipes those bags. So.
Dude, by Baseball Reference, he's already at 4 wins.
That's crazy.
Like, I know Reference and Fangraphs can be different. But at least by Reference, they think he's got a chance to get to 5 wins this year. I mean, that'd be sick.
5.5 probably at this point. It's still first week of August.
Maybe. Yeah, that'd be wild.
It's kind of nuts for Randy.
Yeah.
So right. we're loving this lineup.
Yeah. So yes, to answer your question, I would probably leave JP down at the 8 spot for a while. And that's not even necessarily a knock on JP. It's just more like I love this structure of the lineup. I think it sets them up the best for success.
And I think JP understands, like, if they're scoring a bunch of runs and he's ultra productive down in the 8 hole, that's a really good thing.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's take a quick pause. We got a couple other stories to talk about, but before that, let's talk to you guys about our friends over at Pagacci's Pub 85. This team's hot. You guys want to watch the games? We know you do. So why don't you pick a spot to go watch with your friends and head over there, because it's an awesome spot to go watch some games. Really fun. Neighborhood bar. There's games in that place. There's pool and darts. And again, if you want to watch the games, there's 20 TVs in there. So you will not have a shortage of watching Mariners baseball or really any sporting events, especially with college football, NFL around the corner, all that good stuff. Like, we're about to hit the real peak of the calendar for sports season here. So if you need a place to go watch games, you can head over there. And if you go during happy hour, there's awesome drink specials, which are $3 and $4 from 2 to 6 p.m. on Monday through Fridays. Those are pretty good deals. Those are really good price drinks for some awesome deals at a spot where you can, really have a fun time with your friends. So again, all of that is over at Pagacci's Pub 85 over in Kirkland.
The next storyline we have to talk about is Bryce Miller got back up on a mound in a live game over the weekend. And Lyle, he looked really good. I know it's just a rehab outing. I know it's just Tacoma, but he looked like Bryce. I think that's the best way to describe it. He was throwing hard. He's getting swings and misses on his off-speed pitches. He threw a ton of strikes and was ultra efficient. He looked great.
He was throwing 97. And I know we've seen the velo start up and then deteriorate a little bit at points this year. But the fact it apparently stayed up and the fact he looked really sharp, that's a good sign. Now, I'm sure he's going to make 1 or 2 more rehab starts. I'm sure they're going to have him get stretched out a little bit more before they bring him back.
It could even be more than that. It could be, it could be 4. They did note they wanted to stretch him out more than Logan and George.
So he threw a de facto rehab assignment when he threw to live hitters, a week ago at T-Mobile Park, because he threw that 20-pitch outing, and they said that essentially served as his first rehab assignment rather than just going out to an affiliate. They had him do it at T-Mobile. But the second one, which went really well, he went 55 pitches, I believe, 52 pitches. So I would assume the next 2 would be the last couple, because that would turn out to 4, right?
But do you want like a 20-pitch live AB to count as a rehab start? Because it's not a start.
It's just how many more rehab assignments. So is your goal with Bryce Miller to have him back in September? Is that what it is?
No, by the end of August.
Okay.
Which you could do. He could throw 4 starts and be back by the end of August.
It's possible.
I just don't see, And also, his rehab assignment doesn't start by doing live ABs. His rehab assignment has started once he steps foot in Tacoma.
I just wonder if 2 more is kind of the magic number. I don't know that for sure. The Mariners haven't said. But
I think they want to. It probably depends on the pitch count. If he is at 85 pitches and he throws, the 80% strikes that he threw in this outing, by the way, which is freaking insane, 42 strikes on 52 pitches with his fastball up on average 2 miles an hour. If his fastball's sitting up a mile to a mile and a half per hour, throwing strikes at a 70% clip while getting swing and miss on all of his off-speed pitches in his third rehab outing, then maybe he doesn't need a 4th one, because then they're like, why are we wasting bullets here? It all really depends how Bryce feels in the coming days with the bone spur in his elbow, where he feels like he understands it more, and he understands what they had to inject into his elbow to get it feeling a little bit better and to just get through the final for him. I guess it'll be month-ish of rehab, month of live action at the end of the season, and know that this is all I have to do. So now that it's 55, 70 pitches probably next, 85 the start after, and you hope on that 85th pitch, instead of it being 92, it's 95, 96.
Well, so we talked to Bryce about this recently. We had a pretty interesting conversation with him. It's funny, what he was telling us is essentially what we've been seeing was right, but there was some more context to it in the sense of, every time he goes out there, velo starts high and then it decreases and decreases at certain points of the start. At some point, you just start to see it drop off. And what he was telling us was, it was kind of the same thing that would happen over and over in every start. He would go into, this is before he went back on the IL. Went into it feeling good, went into it feeling sharp, went into it with full confidence. But then after a couple innings, he said, it wasn't a specific pitch type. It wasn't like he had more trouble throwing the splitter than the fastball or had more trouble throwing the slider than the splitter. What he was telling us was when he would start working into these outings, at some point in time, there would just be one pitch. There was no rhyme or reason to when it would happen or how it would happen or the type of pitch it was. There would just be one specific pitch at some point where all of a sudden he would start to feel that discomfort again. And that's when you saw the velo drop off. And I think that's part of what he's going to have to work through when he's in this rehab outing. Clearly in start 1, he got exactly that, which was great to see. But that's kind of what he was explaining to us. Maybe you have further context on it if I'm leaving anything out. But that's essentially what I took away from it. Was he said, look, it would happen every start. I would feel good. And it didn't carry over into the next outings. But it was and it obviously was frustrating because every time he feels like he's starting to cruise when he would get into those outings and his first time back off the IL, then all of a sudden, one pitch would kind of change it all where he can't keep the velo up anymore.
And then there was the pain part of it. Now, outside of the pain part of it, there is the problem where his arm feels sore and he doesn't like the tightness in it and wouldn't allow him to throw as hard as he wanted to. But then there was the mechanical aspect of it too, where he would look up the scoreboard, he'd see that his velo's going down, and he's trying to make up for it, and he's trying to throw harder, and that did not help him out at all. His command would deteriorate. The max effort was not really working, and he would fall apart at the end.
Yeah, that's kind of what he was saying to us, too. He was thinking to himself, like you said, when he'd look up at the radar gun, he'd be thinking to himself, man, how hard do I have to rear back to get to my 95, 96? This is not normal.
Yeah.
So, but clearly in his rehab outing that he just made the other day, wasn't an issue. And I hope that carries over, because when Bryce Miller is at his best, we know what that looks like. And if they get that version of Bryce Miller down the stretch in the final month, and dare I say into the playoffs coming out of the bullpen where you could use him in bulk, that is a massive weapon for the Mariners to have come October.
And I would say a massive boost for this rotation.
Yeah.
For what they have, that version of Bryce Miller is incredibly valuable. He showed exactly what it was last year.
Right. But I think it's fair to say that he'd be the guy of the rotation, that if they get into the playoffs, he'd pitch out of the bullpen this year. But that's not even a knock on Bryce Miller. Again, if he comes back and pitches really well and the way we know he can throw, then, if Brian Wu or Logan Gilbert goes 5 innings in a playoff start, there could be a game where you could turn to Bryce Miller for 3, maybe the rest of it, maybe the rest of the game, and there's your ball game.
Yeah. That's so much fun to think about. That is so much fun to think about. Oh, by the way, one note I forgot to mention when it pertains to this pitching staff, this rotation, the bullpen, by the way, did not allow a run until Sunday. Not in extra innings. Those don't count. So that's what I forgot. But Bryce being back helps out that unit because you just need one less arm. When you have a guy pitching that much deeper into games as you anticipate, you just need that much less stress on that bullpen for the final month of the season. What a weapon that the Mariners could potentially add. Shall I pull out the line, Lyle? It's like the trade deadline is August 31st.
Oh, God. I'm
it's
really
like you
glad.
get a mid-season edition.
Yeah, and Victor Robles, too.
Oh, yeah, double whammy. So the Mariners get 2 trade deadlines. Big upgrades.
I'm really glad we did not have to hear that.
Yeah, me too. I was really worried.
Did you hear Dana Brown say that down in Houston?
I mean, they still had a good deadline, though, so I do, yeah.
Dana Brown said that. He's like, we're going to get Yordan back, and then we should get Javier back, and it's going to be like a trade deadline acquiring all these pieces. It's like, no, these guys are on your roster already. You don't get to pull that card, buddy. No.
As I said before, I'll say it again. If you say that, it is loser talk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear it. Just say you don't want to give up prospects. Be honest.
Right.
Please just be honest. It's fine. Speaking of prospects, Lyle, our final subject today. Couple of big promotions, arguably the biggest promotions within the Mariners minor league system so far this year. We have a couple of guys going from Everett up to Double-A Arkansas in Jurrangelo and Colt Emerson. Which one of these two do you want to talk about first?
We can go with Colt. I mean, Colt's the prized prospect in the organization, so let's start with him. I mean, what he's done the last 6 to 8 weeks is what a top 5 prospect in baseball does. I know he got off to a little bit of a slow start, and he had some hills and valleys through the first 3 months of the year or so in Everett. What he's done in the last about 2 months down there screams, yeah. He's done everything he needs to do in high A. He's not being challenged anymore. It's time to go to Arkansas. Colt Emerson's been OPS in like well over 1,000 in that time, if I have that right.
Since June 1st, the slash line is 319, 433, 546 with a 159 WRC plus, a 14.9% walk rate, and a 15.4% strikeout rate. So the strikeout rate's way down. The walk rate is way up. He's crushing the ball. He's hitting for power. He's getting on base at a high volume, and he's playing plus defense at shortstop as a freshly 20-year-old. Most of that he did as a 19-year-old, but he turned 20 on July 20th. That's pretty good stuff right there. And even if you look at overall, the slash line for his first 336 plate appearances in Everett this year, it's still a 125 WRC plus with plus walk rate, about average power, and a good bat to ball and not a lot of strikeouts. That part alone was still good. But when he started turning it on, I mean, we're really seeing the full package come together. The defense, I think, is something you can't really quantify in the minor leagues, especially if you're not there watching it itself. As good as his bat's been, Lyle, we knew he could hit. But the defense coming into the picture here as something that makes him this complete is a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, there was talk when he got drafted about long-term, is he a third baseman? Or if he sticks at shortstop, is he just going to be a very average shortstop? Oh, no, like he's playing really, really clean defense at shortstop all of a sudden. And this is part of what we talked to him about when we went to go interview him in Everett back in about May. And he was talking about like all this work he's done on his speed and agility that he really, really zoned in on over the offseason. It was for this. Like it helps him run the bases too. But we are seeing the effects of it in the field and what he's done up the 6 hole at the shortstop position this year. And he's quicker to the ball. He gets better jumps. He's not misplaying baseballs. This is like Colt Emerson is going to be the shortstop when he gets to Seattle.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty clear. He is going to stick at that position.
There's no question about that. Maybe there was in the past, but there's definitely not anymore. Like, what is left for him to... Like, he's going to need to show, obviously, he can hit in Arkansas. I think, really, it's just keeping the power stroke up. Because there's a big difference between Everett and Arkansas when it comes to hitting for power. Cole Young, who we've talked about his power on this episode, didn't even crack 10 home runs in his season in Arkansas and was a slightly above league average hitter. What is Colt Emerson going to do comparatively to what Cole Young and Harry Ford did in Arkansas? I think that's going to be a big question that's going to need to be asked. The other thing about this is that, kind of like Laz, since Colt since he plays up the middle, and we've already seen how good of a shortstop he is, and he has this incredible defensive value, he is under a different microscope than Laz Montes, given the ability to hit and field and run. But he's going to get at least 4 months in Arkansas. Like, he'll get these 2 months this year. He'll get probably 2 months next year. And then you make a decision at that point. Is it the big leagues or is it Tacoma? I would probably say it's Tacoma, given that in that exact timeline, Lyle, he's still going to be 20 years old. He could be, like, just after the All-Star break is what we've thrown out there. If he's going to make his big league debut next year, he will have just turned 21. Cole Young, one of the youngest guys to debut in Mariners history this year, was 21, freshly turned 22 when he debuted. Colt Emerson will be younger than that if he debuts after the All-Star break next year.
Yeah, so if you want to look at it like this, he's going to spend the final 2 months of the year in Arkansas. He will start next year in Arkansas, presumably, unless something crazy happened, where I guess the OPS is like 1,300 the final 2 months down in Arkansas this year. But if he spends the final 2 months down in Arkansas this year, and then he spends another 2-3 months in Arkansas to start next year, so if you were to say he spent April, May, and maybe June in Arkansas, and then he went to Tacoma for a month in July, maybe he'd be ready, by somewhere between the All-Star break and a couple weeks after the trade deadline. In other words, when the Mariners next year are presumably like in a spot where they're competitive again and they're trying to make the playoffs again, you might get a real boost in the summer where you could call up Colt Emerson to the roster and he's ready and really help them down that road and help them down that stretch.
And there's the questions about playing time, who's where, but that's something the Mariners can figure out and solve next year, given they have J.P. Crawford under contract for next year. And say if they re-sign Gino Lyle, then you have an infield for next year. But that's something the Mariners figure out in the offseason. That's something they figure out next year when it comes to promoting Colt Emerson. There was nothing he had left to prove in Everett, and I think this promotion is pretty clear on that point of why he deserved to get promoted to the next level. He deserves it. He's going to crush it up in Arkansas. We're very excited to keep watching him as he takes another step closer to the big leagues. Yeah. I think the more interesting case, Lyle, of these two is Jurrangelo. So Jurrangelo, as a righty in Everett this year, has pitched very well. He's had some injuries he has had to deal with. He's been in and out of pitching deep into games. Recently, his last handful of starts, he got up over 80 pitches. He was pitching into the sixth inning. And I think that is one of some of the other signs that the Mariners use to pull him up at this point right now. Here's my thought on Jurrangelo getting promoted. Everyone can see the talent with his right hand. Very clear, very evident at this point. When he's pitching righty, he is a high-level prospect. I do think, though, at the beginning of this year, they thought if he's stretched out at this point, regardless, we want to move him up to Everett to have him challenge those hitters at this point this year, because that's the progress we've wanted to see him make at the beginning of the season rather than end season. Is that a crazy take?
Say that one more time.
Saying that they decided his promotion at the end of July at the beginning of the season.
I mean, a lot of times teams do decide on promotions and like map it out. So that's not crazy to say that they didn't decide yesterday or 2 days ago, hey, now we're going to promote Jurrangelo. Yeah, I think the fact that he had this whole project going where he is working with both hands, you have to allot more time for development. So yeah, like I think it's fair to say we're going to give him about this amount of time in Everett to start the year and then move him up as long as he's not getting shelled down with the Aqua Sox. And now I think that time's gotten here where they said, look, we've seen enough of what we need to see from him in High A, and now it's time to challenge him at another level. Because to be honest, the right hand as a whole, like he could have gotten the promotion probably much quicker than this had he not been also throwing with the left hand. His numbers are skewed where you got to look at the splits to really fully get the picture of what Jurrangelo's season's been this year. Because if you're just sitting at home and you're curious to look up Jurrangelo's ERA for the year, you're going to dial it up and see that it's 4.58. And you're going to say, well, he's been okay. He hasn't been great. That's misleading. So this is why you go to his splits. You can go on MLB.com or MILB.com and look at all the different splits he has this year. Jurrangelo's made 3 outings as a reliever this year, which were coming from the left side when he was throwing lefty, where he got lit up pretty good. In those 3 outings, he gave up 9 earned runs. So you take that away and you say, okay, what's Jurrangelo done as a starter this year? His ERA is 3.59. 3.59 across 16 starts as a starter this year, with opponents hitting just 193 against him. That screams like a guy that is ready for a promotion to Double-A. Probably could have gotten it a little sooner had he just been a righty, but because he is doing something that is so unique, they gave him a little more time.
How much more do we think they're going to let him throw lefty?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're really going to keep it up in terms of he's going to throw an inning. They shut that down a long time ago. He's not doing the thing anymore where he's making 1 appearance a week out of the bullpen as a lefty. That's stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to read the numbers in a minute, which is fine.
Yeah.
Is it detrimental to just have him keep it up to the extent of, hey, if he gets a good lefty-lefty matchup and the numbers improve over time, then sure, once or twice a game, he could throw to the left side against the lefty. Is it the worst thing in the world to have him keep doing that?
If he keeps doing what he's doing right now, probably. Because the lefty numbers are bad. And a lot of it was skewed by, his 3 outings as a reliever, which you mentioned. He gave up 9 runs on 9 hits and walked 7 guys in 2 innings. So that is obviously going to skew what he does as a lefty. But if his lefty stuff is that far away from even being in high A, because right now what I just read was all of his high A numbers as a lefty, that would suggest that max, his lefty arm right now is about Modesto level, roughly, if they were going to work on it. And I don't think they want to bring that lefty arm up to Arkansas and have to put all that time that's required to try and make it better in Arkansas and keep him there longer. Because you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to, if his left arm is not ready for the big leagues, he's not throwing lefty for the games that matter in Seattle. To which that point is, then why do you keep doing it? Why would you keep doing it? It is fun, but the results this year have really not been good in missing bats, in throwing strikes, in being efficient. It hasn't been there.
So here's when we're going to get our answer on this. Next spring training. They're not going to shut it down in the middle of the year. They're not going to tell him to stop in the middle of the year. He's already built in this routine, and he's already gotten into the flow of it. And there's only about 2 months left in the year. In the minor leagues, a little bit less than that. It's not going to stop this year. I think we will have an answer early on in next spring training if this is going to continue or not. Because somebody's going to ask the question, and the Mariners will let people know either we are going to continue to let Jurrangelo work from both sides, or we talked about it this offseason and made the decision that he is strictly going to be a righty moving forward. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll know next year.
I was going to say, the one thing that jumps out to me, you don't even have to look at it as a starter and reliever split. You don't need to look at it sort of, I think, in any other way than this. The reason he throws left-handed now is to throw left on left and get lefties out who cannot hit other left-handers on the mound. As a lefty against left-handed batters this year, Jurrangelo has allowed an 1,100 OPS and a 600 on-base percentage.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
But this can improve over time. Now, if it improves, quote-unquote, where it goes from an 1,100 OPS to a 900 OPS, then the Mariners may deem that it's not worth all the time they're putting into the development of that left arm.
Right.
But if it improves next year where he has a Bryce Miller, Brian Wu jump in year 2, where how Miller and Wu couldn't get any lefties out as rookies, and then they both figured it out. If Jurrangelo figures it out a little bit in year 2, if the Mariners give him one more season to do this thing, then they may say, okay, it's worth it to have him continue to work on the left hand enough where he can throw, like, switch arms and throw to a couple batters a game as a lefty.
And I think Jurrangelo at some point will sit there and think, is the time and effort that's going to be required to bring up that arm to the way it is, or to the way you want it to be, is that worth it? When the big leagues are right there, and you're on the doorstep of the big leagues, and you get that temptation of wanting to go pitch up there, and you're like, if I just stop throwing lefty, I'll be a big leaguer. Mm-hmm. Like, ultimately, that question could come up, and he'd have to answer that himself on that. And then you think about it from a Mariners perspective. Is all this time and effort worth it when he's going to throw one inning left-handed a week?
In total, from all the batters he'll face, you mean? Yeah, it's probably.
Because, again, unless it drastically improves, the only people they would let him throw left-handed to, say it works out best case scenario and still gets to the majors, but it's still not this elite stuff from the left side, who would he be allowed to face? Like
Kerry Carpenter?
Kerry Carpenter. Pick someone who has the worst left splits of all time. Like, that's who he gets to face. A lot of these lefties in baseball are good and can hit lefties, which would make him throw righty anyways.
Right.
So the Mariners sit there and think, it's like, all right, we have all this development plan. Do we want to put all this effort in for another arm to pitch 20 pitches a week?
And I think that'll be a very, very interesting storyline come February, because that's when we're going to get more answers on it. For now, I'm guessing he'll continue with it. And the more important thing here is the production of the right arm earned him this promotion to Double-A, and the production of the right arm says this guy can be a front-end big league starter.
100%. And that, it's almost like a given that we just kind of glazed over his right arm, because, like, the stuff is so good. And I just want to see him keep getting stretched out, throwing with that, and watch him take off. Do you think he maybe sees the fact he's not listed as a top 100 prospect on some sites? He's a first rounder last year. Some of these guys are in the big leagues already. He wasn't even rated as a top 100 prospect. You think that's not a chip on your shoulder?
Do you think he looks at that stuff?
He might not admit to us he does.
Maybe. There's still
someone in his camp probably saw it.
There's outlets that have him in the top 100, though.
I know. Not high in the top 100. So you see that, use it as motivation. That's fine.
Do you think that's because of him continuing to do work with the left arm too?
I think it might contribute. Because just remember all the time it takes away from you throwing right-handed.
Right.
All the routines that pitchers have to do, that, say, Logan Gilbert. If you watch Logan Gilbert, you go to a Mariners game, you watch all the time Logan Gilbert spends before a start getting ready. Jurrangelo has to do twice as much work because he's got two arms to take care of. Think of just the energy, how much more efficiently that energy could be spent if you don't have to do twice the work.
Right. That's true. It'll be interesting come February. I think that's my conclusion on it.
I'm 100% with you on that one. Regardless, the right arm is going to continue to blossom and be disgusting.
Yeah. And that is why he's going to Double-A. And that's why we can't wait to watch him when he's in Double-A. So it'll be really cool. All right, I think that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to listen to the full-form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your pods. If you're listening on the audio side, please make sure to download and rate and review 5 stars. It's a big help to us if you do. It only takes a second to do. If you're on YouTube, like, comment, and please drop a subscribe on the YouTube channel. That is the best way you can support us. Just hit that subscribe button that's right in front of you. If you want to follow all of our stuff, again, everything's over at our website, from our episodes, merch, Patreon, live show schedules. That's all over at marinelayerpod.com. And then on social media, you can find us everywhere at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.